What's up, Alliance? So to kind of finish out what I did with my character creation tonight, there was I got to give it to the Legend as DM. Like, there's a lot of versatility that goes into making your character. Like, you have a very well controlled, what I want to say, like the customization you can do is pretty nuts. Like the extent, like there was stuff I got away with, and I'm not saying I went for like just something who's like straight all powerful or anything like that. Like I had a certain theme I wanted for my character, but like the stuff I could get away with is I was like I went in with an idea and I was like I pretty much got that idea, and I was like that was pretty hot. Like that was, I don't want to say far and above and beyond, but like if there's a award for best DM when it comes to like character creation and stuff like that, like I think Legends like might have my vote after this one because the way he has it set up is pretty awesome right now. So getting into things, the first thing we picked was kind of a fighting style. Uh, I opted not to go like for a traditional Asian martial arts style, but a like because my guy is a weapons dude. Like he makes them, but he's also like proficient with using them. I went for a like Greco-Roman style of spear and weapon. So, or I'm sorry, shield and weapon. Like if you remember Achilles from Troy, like that kind of thing. Whether it was that or like the Spartans in 300, like if you remember that, like where they've got like the shield and it's a combination of power and agility. But like the primary weapon is a short spear, so you know you're gonna be stabbing and slashing with that, and then like as like a secondary would either be a sword or a warhammer type thing. Because I wanted to do something different from like your traditional Eastern style like martial arts and stuff like that. And I figure like it's probably equally deadly. The DM stressed that, you know, you will basically borrow influence from those styles as opposed to copying them exactly. So it'll be incorporated into a 3D space as opposed to just ground fighting because I am a Saiyan. You know, being able to fly and stuff like that is part of the deal. Saiyans are like so if Saiyans weren't the poster race before, like just going through this character creation process and the stuff I was able to get away with, like Saiyans are absolutely the poster race. Saiyans are everything. But yeah, like the DM said he would adapt the fighting style I asked for, uh, based on like what Saiyans can do as far as like key stuff. And you get to pick like if you want to go like a blaster range type or a melee type. I went for melee because I make melee weapons for the most part, or at least that's what I want to do. Is I want to make melee weapons. Yeah, so that was kind of the fighting style. I said like as far as unarmed, I kind of left it up in the air. I said like, you know, I want, you know, if I for some reason I am disarmed or anything like that, I like to be able to defend myself with a hard and soft style, like where, you know, equal parts. You know, soft martial arts is usually like redirecting, where hard martial arts is like your Muay Thai and stuff like that, where you're blocking with your forearms and things. And there's a couple styles that are like that, but yeah, like that was kind of like a not an afterthought, but like, you know, primary my fighting style would be with sword and shield or spear and shield, that kind of thing. Um, I don't quite have a spear and magic helmet, but that's cool. I guess technically I could craft a spear and magic helmet though, so we'll have to see about that. Um, but yeah, like I kind of like the idea of trying a little something different as far as fighting styles go. Usually I've been pretty steeped in like the Asian kind of thing, but going with like the like it was hilarious because I was explaining to the DM and the DM was like, "Have you seen Troy Player?" And I was like, "DM, that's what I was looking up to get this idea." It was the exact scenes we were talking about, so we were very much on the same page with that. Um, yeah, so we kind of locked in the fact that I'm more of a melee fighter. Like I said, because I'm a Saiyan, and I didn't want to go so much the blaster side. Like I feel like I'm not a caster type. Like my Constitution magic is, you know, makes my body stronger. You know, specifically, it makes it much faster with the ability that I have. Um, that was something interesting I learned about the magics. Is I was curious as like with these schools of magic, like when you think of like magic in D&D, like the spell I mentioned last time where I basically link myself to like an avatar of a speed god or a speed deity, like that's like a, you know, seventh or ninth level spell or something crazy like that in D&D. And I was like, is that what you get? And then like there's like some base level stuff, and it's like the DM was like, no, you basically get that spell. You can learn other spells in that, but like as far as the starting thing goes, you know, you get like your one, you know, your major ability, your minor ability, that kind of thing. Uh, so that was something that's definitely curious to me, because I was like, you know, if you get like Inferno, Hell, Apocalypse spell that lets you call down meteors and everything like that, it's like, can you also cast fireballs? And it was like, no, by extension, you don't get to do that, which was interesting. Um, so it's like, because the spells are so versatile, or the schools of magic are so versatile, like you pretty much get the spells that you get within that. Which leads me to how everything key is, because I got to pick key abilities. So you get to pick one finisher, which is like your ultimate ability. The way ultimate abilities are described as is you can basically put you can basically charge them up. So like it'd be like your spirit bomb, or maybe even like your Kamehameha could be an ultimate ability. But it's like ultimate ability is how much you can charge it up, how much of yourself you can put into it. Then there is two medium level abilities. A medium level ability is something you can charge up to an extent. It can be a blast. It can be offensive. It can be defensive. It can be utility. Anything like that. Um, but it's like it doesn't. It's not something you like put your all into. It's not like your ultimate beam fight type ability. And then there's lesser abilities. Lesser abilities are abilities you simply activate. So it's not something that it's not something that you charge up or anything like that. It's just you have it at the level that you're proficient with it at, and that's what you get it at. I guess I should ask, like, if you can actually train these abilities up, like for a low level ability can become a medium level ability with practice. I don't know, but so yeah, what you get with key is you get one ultimate, two medium, and three low level abilities, which is kind of high. Like, I mean, being able, and once you kind of learn the scope that you can get away with, uh, that's where I was kind of like, oh, like key is kind of everything. Uh, it's a lot, you know. It's he kind of basically, the DM kind of described it as it's, you can basically pick a lot of stuff you've seen that are key based, but they can't be too mystically based. Like the example he used is Majin Buu uses some key type abilities, but like his ability to change people into chocolate and eat them, that's a very mystical based ability. So it still has to be tied to that kind of thing. So for my low level abilities, the one I picked is, it may seem kind of weird and out of place, but like a to channel my key into my shield. Uh, there's a reason I specifically picked that. I'm actually not going to go into it because I'd like to keep that one to myself. But yeah, it's a pretty simple ability. Like I said, like low level abilities are pretty simple. I like kind of felt out some versatility things, and it seemed like low level key abilities are not the place to do that. Like you want things that are going to augment your fighting style, that are going to help you in some way or another, like whether they're providing range to a melee fighter or things along those lines. The second ability I picked was a pretty straightforward one, because I'm not a ranged fighter, and like my ranged blasts are not that not that great when it comes to control. Is I picked homing key blast. This also has something to do with an ability, another ability let down the line, but like I said, it was pretty straightforward. Uh, you know, it's a very simple, straightforward ability. Like Saiyans already get like they have a certain directional control over their energy blast, but like this just kind of, it's kind of like I don't want to say autopilot, but it makes it more effective at what it does. Uh, and you know, like basic level key blasts aren't killing anyone or anything like that, unless you're like maybe a base level human. But like they're there to do a bit of damage, to act as distractions, to give people like something more to think about. If you got like 3 or 4 key blasts chasing you while you're facing someone else, then you know it's like, are you going to take the damage from one of their blows, or are you going to take the damage from a key blast, that kind of thing. Um, This is the way kind of the DM described it. The third ability is a flash step kind of thing, and the way the DM described it is, put this up here, was very much like how, what's her name, Feora from Man of Steel moved. It basically grants you a quick burst of speed with a strike. And the reason I picked this was not for a versatility reason, but because my character is already very focused around speed. So the DM basically said, like, it'll just compound things. So, you know, she was kind of everything when she did this, but like, this is how the DM describes me, like, it's the flash step working, this part right here, where it's like, each strike is very, very burst of speed, like, you know, she's shooting from one to the next. Pretty simple ability, but, you know, every Saiyan should have an ability like that. Like I said, instant transmission and everything like that is definitely much higher, I think, in the scope of that. Because I even asked for something like perception-based, like where, I think it was Max Steel that did it, where like he could kind of do predictive algorithms and stuff, and the DM was like, that's probably a little outside the scope of the way I worded it. Like, it probably wouldn't be worth it as a low-level ability, and I didn't want to sacrifice my higher-level abilities for that kind of thing. Yeah, so those are the 3 low-level abilities. Like I said, they're nothing too fancy or anything like that, but they do things to round out my character in ways that I didn't necessarily get into. My 2 mid-level abilities, the one is very straightforward, but it's also, I think, very potent for a Saiyan to have, and it is a key ability that mimics Black Panther's armor or Bishop to an extent from the X-Men. And that is specifically, you can absorb energy and then channel it into your next strike. Next strike or blast. I think I specifically said strike. I don't know if it channels into a blast or anything like that. I'm, like I said, as more of a much more melee proficient fighter, I think this is something I kind of learned, is the more specific you make your power, at least with the way I did it, the more potential power you get out of it. So like I think that's why I said it like this, as far as the melee strike went with this ability, is the DM basically says, like, listen, player, if you limit it to this, your strikes will be more powerful. But if you do it like blast and strikes, then that power is not going to be as potent whenever it does. So I was like, oh, DM, let me specialize a little bit here. And I did that with a couple of my other things. That one was pretty straightforward. Yeah, you put out this field, and as you're getting hit with energy attacks or kinetic attacks, you basically absorb that energy, and you know, it's like, I don't know if the punch ends up being explosive, it absorbs energy, and if it just adds kinetic impact and force, if it's doing that. But yeah, it's a very get it in kind of power. So it's like, you know, as a Saiyan who is working his way up, like I always think that, like, that's probably one of those great round out kind of things where, you know, unless you're fighting someone who's, you know, so far outside your league you have no chance of beating anyway, you know, you can probably survive some hits through that. So the second power I picked with that kind of synergizes with this, in that I can summon these little key crystals that kind of float around me, and as I take damage, or as I'm like hit and like borne down, that kind of thing, like each one of them takes a certain amount to trigger. And again, this is based on the assumption I don't get absolutely one shot and killed, which, you know, that can certainly happen in real world, but I'm okay with that. But anyway, as I take damage and as I take hits, the crystals will trigger, kind of fly into my body and release this explosive, like, blast of vitality / healing. And I can, and I also did well, I'm not going to actually get into that part, but I might have the potential to use it on others, but like I think it's definitely more potent for myself. Yeah, so that was like the most of the key based abilities. I'm not gonna get into my ultimate too much, because I'd like to actually give that a shot at some point before I reveal everything that it does with it, because it does some interesting things as far as destruction goes. It has some properties to it, and you know, if we ever get into a movie or something like that and I gotta try to kill somebody, I'd like it to be a surprise. Um, but yeah, it's nothing actually that fancy, nothing like over the top crazy. It kind of falls in line with a DBZ kind of thing. And from what I gathered, like I probably could have gone a lot better with my ultimate ability, like if I was like seeking out the most powerful, most deadly character I could make. But you know, charisma's no dump stat for this character, so we're not going the Keith road of making the most efficient killer out there. I still think I'll be a pretty efficient killer, hopefully at least. Um, so that was the powers I picked, and like I said, I can't stress enough. Like he was just the way, like the scope of powers I could pick from, like what I could potentially do. The database, was saying like, if you could think of something from like Street Fighter to an extent Naruto, DBZ, and a couple other like fantasy type universes, like we mentioned heroes, alphas, stuff like that. Uh, yeah, I'm replying to your message here. See, you get a little a little circular thing going on here. Be like, oh, I remember that moment. But yeah, like there was a lot of universes. Like we even touched like some Yu Yu Hakusho stuff, and like a lot of fantasy universes like that where characters who use like a basic life force energy. Like he seems to be surrounded by that, so it's not limited to like the stuff you see in Dragon Ball Z. And like I said, I wasn't super familiar with like Dragon Ball Super or anything like that, so I'm sure I missed out on some abilities that I can draw on. But yeah, even then, like I don't think my abilities, like there's nothing like it in DBZ. My final ability. I'll be anxious to see how it works out, how it plays out. Uh, yeah, those were the two big things, and like I said, there was a lot of time to kind of hash out those abilities. That took me more than a couple hours because I didn't know. Like that's kind of the tricky part is you go into it and like the video was like thinking about powers and fighting styles, and I was like, okay, like key powers. I was kind of thinking about it, but then it was like the small, medium, large powers. And I was like, oh, okay, so that kind of completely changes what I was thinking. Like I was thinking I was going to get to pick from like, okay, player, you can pick from like Kaioken, Final Flash, Kamehameha, stuff like that. And I had some stuff in my head. And he's like, no, you can be a lot more broad than that. I kind of had to rethink everything. Uh, I learned some stuff about the Saiyan Empire. Saiyans are in the trillions apparently, so like that's kind of scary. Uh, Also, like it seems like from what the DM said, there's a very real potential. Actually, I'll be able to hit Super Saiyan from the get go, and while Super Saiyans aren't quite as powerful as they are in the show, they're still pretty powerful. Like I think he said like Super Saiyan 2, you can start to crack worlds, like with your energy blast and everything. I was like, that's actually kind of hot. Like I know like in the show like early on they could blow up planets and stuff, but he was saying like within Legends that you can like Super Saiyans 2 can do things that will destroy planets. And I was like, that's kind of hot. And starting at Super Saiyan 1, like, yeah, there's obviously a big jump that exists between 1 and 2, and like there'll be work to get there. But I was kind of expecting like I'd be some regular Saiyan who could maybe power up or something like that. But he was like, there's a very real potential you'll be able to hit Super Saiyan from the start. So that kind of made me happy. I know, like I said, like I know, like there's a lot of characters out there that are they're super nice as is, that are like, on the Super Saiyan 2, 3, 4 level, but we're starting from the get go. I'll be anxious to see how the mystic side of things augment the already impressive Saiyan slash Super Saiyan side of things. Like that was kind of my big hope for the character is, Saiyans are already the poster race for a reason. And then being able to hit Super Saiyan, and then being able to augment myself on top of this, as well as using these enchanted weapons or enchanted items to kind of further boost myself, because like that's the synergy between ether magic and constitution magic, is like I can make items that really boost your character up stat wise. Like if I had picked another school of magic, I could probably do different stuff other than the physical thing, but I can also do other stuff. It's just more difficult, and I would probably have to, this is from what the DM was telling me, like I would probably have to reach out to someone else, which is why you have like family, friends, and community and stuff like that. Like there's apparently whole communities of these Mystic Saiyans that are out there to help out. There's all kinds of mystic schools and everything, so it's like it's a whole part of lifestyle. So it seems really cool. But yeah, I'm interested to see how it plays out. Like I said, I know people out there have some crazy abilities. I don't think I'll probably be able to take Keith's character just because Keith is is going to steal my soul or something like that. And like I said, definitely some of the older characters I'd imagine be a lot more powerful. But we'll see how they play out in games. I'm really hoping like we get some group movies together and everything like that once I get started in game. I think the DM was talking about like the time it takes to finish the character creation process, and I was like, yeah, looking at it, I think my schedule anyway, the not this weekend but next weekend, is sort of out because I got a event to do, so that kind of set things up just right. Where I think around the 17th of October, he said I can probably start getting into my game 17th to the 20th of October. So I was like, oh, that's kind of nice, or at least being able to start things out a little bit. So I'm looking forward to that. I think that was the main things that were kind of covered in tonight's session. Like I said, I left out the ultimate ability. There was a lot that kind of hashing that out because I don't say it's complicated, but it's definitely on the different side. Yeah, so it was a lot of fun. The Legends DM is the man when it comes to character creation. You know, every DM has his strength and stuff like that. But I was like, this was definitely stand out to me. Nothing against anyone else, but I was like, that was pretty darn awesome. Yeah, so we'll cut out there. It's probably already long enough. All right.